I guarantee you, after watching this video, you'll never look at potatoes the same way ever again. Not just because of this dish, but because of the story behind it, a story that's close to my heart. This is a dish I learned from my grandfather, a man who passed away a couple decades ago. Every time I make it, I feel like I'm stepping back into his kitchen, back into that world he created with his love for food, simplicity, and family. As I chop these potatoes, I think about how my grandfather would have done the same, probably with a dull knife, of course, over that humble made cutting board. He didn't need perfection, he just made it work. I remember it vividly. My grandparents' kitchen. It wasn't like the one we see today. It was made from wooden posts he had cut from the backyard, and aluminum zinc sheets for the roof and sides. And the floor was just dirt, solid and packed. If you looked up, you could see the sky through the cracks in the roof. And to the right of it all was a wood fire, raised upon stones and high-end frame, capable of holding 3 to 5 pots at once. It was the heart of the kitchen, especially during big family gatherings. On this particular day, my grandfather was cooking something I'd never seen before. He stood over a pot, its exterior as black as midnight from the years of use, but the inside shone. Polished by countless meals, he was stewing potatoes, just potatoes. I couldn't believe it. No chicken, no goat, no oxtail, just potatoes. Growing up in Jamaican culture, potatoes were always the supporting act, the side chick in a stew or soup. Never the star. I kept waiting for him to add something else. Some meat, a handful of vegetables, something. But he didn't. He just added spices and stirred. When the curry powder hits the pot and starts to sizzle, it's like the entire kitchen comes alive. The aroma fills the air, warming and inviting, a reminder of home and family. My grandfather loved to cook, and you could see it in how he moved. There was no recipe, no measurements, just instinct. A pinch here, a handful there, tasting as he went. I stood there skeptical. What was this going to taste like? Did potatoes really hold their own? And then there was my grandmother, nearby, working on her famous roti. She didn't have a rolling pin. What she had was an empty Jamaican rum bottle. Its label long scraped off, cleaned and repurposed. She rolled the dough on a cutting board my grandfather had made for himself. He had cut a tree trunk from the backyard and carved it into a perfect round board. Everything they used, they had made or improvised, and that made it all the more special. As I stirred the potatoes, I remember his calmness, his confidence. He knew these potatoes would deliver, and they always did. When the food was finally ready, it was served. My grandmother's roti was soft and fluffy, just as I had expected. But it was the potatoes that took me by surprise. I hesitated at first, to be honest, taking a small bite, then another, and another, each one bigger than the last. The flavor was incredible. The potatoes had soaked up the spices and transformed into something I never thought potatoes could be. It wasn't just food, it was a lesson. A lesson in simplicity, in resourcefulness, in making the most of what you have. My grandfather didn't have much, but he knew how to turn the humblest ingredients into something extraordinary. He didn't need fancy tools or expensive ingredients. What he had was enough. Every time I make this dish, I think of that day. I think of the wood fire, the scent of spices, the blackened pots shining on the inside. And it reminds me, cooking isn't about what you don't have. It's about what you do have. What's in your fridge? What's in your cupboard? How can you take what's there and make something delicious? I think of my grandfather's shaky hands stirring those potatoes, and my grandmother rolling out the roti with that rum bottle. I think of how they created something beautiful in a kitchen where you could see the sky through the roof. So today, I'm sharing this dish with you. These curry potatoes may seem simple, but they carry with them so much history, so much love. As I cook, I hope you see how the flavors come together, how these humble potatoes transform into something incredible. And let's not forget the roti now. I'm not as skilled as my grandmother, but I do my best. She could knead that dough and roll it out into perfect rounds without ever breaking a sweat. Me? Well, let's just say I channel her spirit and hope for the best. When it's all done, it's time for the best part, the taste test. The potatoes are tender, coated in spices, and bursting with flavor. Paired with the soft rum roti, it's a combination that never fails. It's simple, but it's everything. But for today, we're having rice. So, now I have to ask you, do you still see potatoes the same way? Are they just a side dish? Or do they deserve a little more credit? I hope you'll give this dish a try. See for yourself how these humble ingredients can create something extraordinary. And when you do, let me know. Share your thoughts, your stories, your memories. Did it change the way you see potatoes? Did it remind you of someone you love? I can't wait to hear from you. Until then, remember, cooking isn't about having everything. It's about using what you have and making it yours. It's like my grandparents did, just like I do today, and just like you can too. Enjoy this dish, and thank you for being part of this memory with me. Until next time, be kind to each other.